Hello students, welcome to RJR Academy. This is biology session. We are moving to the continuation of the next chapter, that is evolution. Question number 137. Which one of the following are analogous structure? As we discussed already like in the live session, I hope you can see the video, right? We discussed like homologous and analogous. When come to this part, so before going to this question number 137, homologous, as we are talking about the morphological evidence, homologous and analogous. Homologous for divergent evolution, analogous is for convergent evolution. So what is homologous? Same structure but different function. So homologous is same structure, analogous is different structure. So this is what I mentioned, like HD is homologous for divergent, AC analogous for convergent evolution. So now, which one of the following are analogous structures? The wings of the bat and the wings of the pigeon. So wings of the bats and wings of the pigeon, that you could see in this case, wings of the bat and the wings of the pigeon, but both are these from it's from the different structure but performing in the same function. Both the bats of the wings of a bat and the wings of a pigeon, both performing the same function. So different structure but same function. Okay, so option 1 is the correct answer. 138. The finch species of Galapagos Islands are grouped according to the food sources. Which of the following is not a finch fur? Finch fur, as Darwin's visited the Galapagos Islands, 20 different islands, based on the feeding habits, the beak shape has got differentiated. Question number 138. As far as finches are concerned, finches, he identified 20 different types of finches based on the beak shape. He just confirmed and identified different types of the finches. But which is not the feeding habit, the food is the carrion. Carrion is not the fur. So option 1 is the correct answer. 139. Biogenetic law as given by Haeckel states that ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny. So question number 139, it's a modified in the light of evolution, where you could see ontogeny were converted to phylogeny. So this is what actually proposed by Ernst Haeckel. Ontogeny means its own development first, and after this its own development, the organism's own development is accomplished, then ancestral development, all the characters of ancestral development started occurring. Okay, this is a contribution which took place by means the light of evolution by Ernst Haeckel. So option 1 is the correct answer. 140. Recapitulation theory was given by Haeckel. Recapitulation. Question number 140. Haeckel. Haeckel. So option 2 is the correct answer. 141. An evolutionary pattern characterized by the rapid increase in the number and kinds of closely related species is called divergent evolution. So this is a divergent evolution. Evolutionary pattern which is characterized by the rapid increase in number and kinds of closely related species. So closely related species, it might be having the closely related species common ancestors. So for this option is divergent evolution for question number 141. Okay, we are done with this questions 141. We move on to the next question. Question number 142. As far as 142 is concerned, Darwin's finches provide an excellent evidence in favor of evolution. The evidences comes from the field of, when you see this part 142, it's a biogeography. Darwin's finches are biogeographical evidence of organic evolution. Darwin's finches show divergent evolutions as they have the common ancestor. So you could see biogeography. So 142, it's a natural selection which was proposed by Darwin finches. Question number 143. Close related species varying different in the trait expresses parallel evolution. So you could see the parallel evolution. This also we discussed in the live chats, if you hope you remember the live chat. 143 parallel evolution. So option 3 is the correct answer, because parallel evolution is the independent development of similar characters in two related groups of organisms in response to the similar requirements or environmental influences. So option 3 is the correct answer, that is, the close related species varying different in trait expresses the parallel evolution. 144. In a population of 1000 individuals, 360 belong to the genotype AA and 480 to AA, and the remaining 162 the small letter A and A. Based on this data, the frequency of the allele A is the population is 0.6. This question number 144, you take, this is by Hardy-Weinberg principle, P square plus Q square plus 2PQ is equal to 1. Okay, so for this they given the values here. You could see like AA. You could see now AA, that is like for example AA, that is the P square is equal to 360 out of 1000 individuals, or you can make it as P square is equal to 0.3 square. So therefore you could see P is equal to 0.6. So 0.6 is the correct answer. So 144, 3 is the correct answer. Question number 145. The important gas was absent during the formation of Earth is oxygen, because that time there was no oxygen. So there was only nitrogen gas, hydrogen, and methane, helium, all these gases like which was present over here. So oxygen was not there. So 145, 1 is the correct answer. 146. When members of a population attain sexual maturity at different times preventing interbreeding, it is termed as seasonal isolation. In seasonal isolation, the breeding period of mating individuals is different for different species. Members of populations attain sexual maturity at different times, thereby preventing interbreeding. It's a seasonal isolation. Question number 147. Single step large mutation leading to a speciation, it's actually we call it as saltation. A single step large mutation, question number 147. 147, a single step large mutation, this leads to, this is called a saltation. Definitely it leads to speciation, but the speciation which occurs in a very smaller group, like this is not going to give the drastic effects, but the same speciation which going to affect in the smaller group, abnormal changes, abrupt changes which will be happening. If the speciation which is going to occur in a very large population, of course the speciation is going to occur, but this is not going to give an abnormality or like any abrupt changes. But the same speciation, if this speciation seems to be like an abnormal change, a sudden what is that called, a large mutation which occurs in a population, that leads to definitely a speciation, this we call it as saltation. So for this question 147, this we already discussed in live session, so option 2 is the correct answer. Question 148. Ultimate source of energy variations is the process which provides raw materials for evolution. This was proposed by Hugo de Vries. As we talking about the mutation theory we discussed, Hugo de Vries, which he performed his experiments in Oenothera americana, where you could see in this, that is the evening primrose, this particular plant, he observed the different types of mutation, and this theory is collectively together we call it as mutation theory. So what happens like in this question, where the organic variation is the process which provides the raw materials for the evolution. So as for the evolution is concerned, we discussed already, evolution will not take place just overnight, just 2 months or 3 months or 5 years or 10 years. Evolution is a process, is a continuous process, substantially will take many years back, like, and it's a story of like a billion years story that we are talking about. So this evolution which took place by means of definitely made of like mutation. So one side we call it a slow and other side is a rapid. So slow we call it as a recombination, but rapid we call it as a mutation. So for this question, option 3 is the correct answer for question number 148. Next question 149. Industrial melanism is an example. So we discussed about the Betullaria species, industrial melanism, question number 149. As far as 149, you take industrial melanism. So this is actually was first identified in England in Birmingham area, where the plants, actually the trees of the bark has been covered by the lichens actually. So this was covered by the lichens. You know, the lichens are nothing but the symbiotic relationship between the fungi and the algae. At the time what happens, like there was 2 scenarios which was proposed actually when there was less number of less amount of pollution. And after industries, when urbanization started, then what happens? These lichens started like diminishing, and there was like increase in pollution. So it means as the industries started increasing, the pollution also started drastically, it started increasing. So when the pollution started increased, then what happened? The lichens started decreasing. The lichens started decreasing. When pollution is increasing, the growth of the lichens started increasing. That is the reason why we call lichens, which acts like the indicator of the air pollution, because this lichens cannot grow when the area where there is more of pollution. If the pollution is more, the lichens cannot be seen in the bark of a tree. But what is the industrial melanism? When we talk about the natural selection, the nature is giving opportunity for the organisms on both the extremes. Here we could see like two types of moths actually. For example, two types of moth. This is the black moth we are talking about, and the other one, for example, you take, this is the grey moth. The grey moth. Both the moths which was actually feeding on the lichens, but the grey moth, because the color of the lichen is what? The color of the lichen is grey, but the color of the moth is also grey. So what happens? This grey moth has got camouflaged with the color of the lichens, so it couldn't be visible for the predator. So predator could identify only the black moth. So what happens, like when there is more number of lichens, what happens, like grey moth was proliferating. There are more number of grey moth. When the lichens started decreasing, then what happens? There is no more amount of black moth. This moth is called as Betullaria species. This is called as Betullaria. It means the nature is giving opportunity, or the nature is selecting in both the extremes, where there are more lichens, where there are less lichens. When more lichens, grey moth has started increasing. When the lichens are less, it means more of pollution. It means the nature is giving opportunity, or the nature is selecting this particular moth to proliferate. How? Because lichen color is grey, and also the moth color is also grey, so the predator couldn't identify the grey moth. But when the lichen started destroyed in case of pollutant, what happened? The color of the tree is a black in color. In that case, what happened? The bark of the tree is also black, where the moth color is also black, where the predator couldn't identify the black moth. Perhaps it can identify only the grey moth. So it means it giving opportunity for both the type of moths, the grey moth as well as the black moth. So nature is selecting. So this comes under industrial melanism, which comes under the category called as natural selection. This was again the selective support for the Darwin. We proposed the natural selection. So for this question, we are discussing the question number 149. Industrial melanism is an example. So industrial melanism, which comes under the example for natural selection. Even we discussed the Darwin's finches. The finches also, like, this also comes under the example for natural selection, because nature is selecting, or nature loves this type of organisms where this can adapt itself. Instead of dying, instead of complaining to the nature, I cannot survive, this is not good, this is not right. Instead of complaining, this organism started adapting to the new environment. So the nature selects that type of organism. So option 4 is the correct answer. 150. Which one is an example of the living fossil? Coral, Ascidia, octopus and king crab. Right, out of these questions you go with the option king crab, because the king crab, the lemurus we call it, as we already discussed when we talk about the animal kingdom. We discussed the horseshoe crab that we discussed. That time itself I told you king crab, which demonstrated or confirmed to be a living fossil. So option 4 is the correct answer. Question number 151. Coming to this question 151. Periplatus is a connecting link between, this also, the session I took, the live session, that time itself I told you, the fifth part, the morphological evidences, I told you connecting link. I given 5 examples, there I mentioned about the periplatus. If you see the live video, you can get this answer, because periplatus, which acts like a connective link between the Annelida and the Arthropoda. So option 3 is the correct answer. Question 152. Recapitulation theory. This we already discussed the previous part. So Haeckel. Haeckel is a repeated question. So this is, you need to give importance for this type of questions. This again they are asking this type of question. So recapitulation theory, which was proposed by Haeckel. So recapitulation theory. This again proposed by Haeckel. Okay, and also ontogeny to phylogeny, this also which proposed by the modified, the light of evolution, this also proposed by Haeckel. This theory we called as recapitulation theory. See, so far like 3 times the same sort of questions been asked, so you need to give importance for this type of question. We're done with this part. Question number 152, Haeckel is the correct answer. 153. Origin of the first toothed birds took place in the Jurassic period. That is the reason why initially the birds in the larval stage, the embryonic stage, you see, there was like no tooth, but when the bird started growing up, when come to the adult form, there is no lack of the teeth. You could see only the beak-like structure, only the beak that you could see. It means that is the reason why we call it as like glorified reptiles. Birds usually we call it as a glorified reptiles. Why we call it as a glorified reptiles? Because in the embryonic stage, it do have a teeth, but later part in the adult stage, lack of a teeth. This because we call it as, because it occurs in the which period? Jurassic period. So option 3 is the correct answer. One, because that period is called as like, it's a glorified reptiles for the birds. 154, which of the following is also called as Sewall-Wright effect? What is Sewall-Wright effect? I told you already in case of like, speciation we discussed. We discussed in the case of saltation, I told you about speciation. The Sewall-Wright effect is something, if it is again, the speciation occurs in the small population. Of course, in both the population, if it is a large population or some small population, anyway speciation is going to occur. But speciation which occurs, already the population is very small. In that population, the speciation which occurs, this leads to abnormal or abrupt changes. If this occurs in the smaller population, definitely the antigen drift takes place. Alleles, the loss of alleles also will be more, and this effect is called as Sewall-Wright effect. So Sewall-Wright effect is of course a speciation, but which population? Which is for the smaller population. For this question, the correct answer is genetic drift, because where the Sewall-Wright effect is happening, the genetic drift, where it means genetic drift means loss of alleles in which population? Small population. So option 3 is the correct answer for this particular question. Question number 155. Homo erectus evolved during. So this particular question 155. Pleistocene. So when you see the history, the evolution of the human beings after you see Homo erectus, even Neanderthal man, Dryopithecus, Australopithecus. When you see actually the substantial improvement, how the humans started evolving, right? The Java man, like if you started like, especially this particular people like Homo erectus, they started evolved during Pleistocene period. So this also you get from the videos, like we already discussed in the video session. So you can get an answer. If any doubts, you can just play back and look into the video, you can get the answer for this question. So option 3 is the correct answer. Question number 156. Which of the following is the correct sequence of events in the origin of life? When you see all the 4 options, where you see 2, 3, 1 and 4, where the 2, 1 synthesis of organic polymers, synthesis of organic, first is monomer, then the polymer, then you could see formation of DNA based genetic system, and at last formation of protobionts. Yesterday, the video itself we discussed, right? So how the evolution, like after the Urey-Miller experiments, Alden O'Brien, they confirmed how the first conservates been found. Before the conservates, with something called as this structure we call as protobionts. The protobionts were found, but the protobionts were non-reproducing. But you could see conservates. Conservates are the first reproducing organism, the living organism which have been originated in the world. So if you are very clear with the historical perspective of evolution, you can answer this type of question. So question 156, 3 is the correct answer. Question 157. The prebiotic atmosphere of the earth was of a reducing nature. It was transformed into an oxidizing atmosphere of present day due to the emergence of, the example is a very simple question. So cyanobacteria, but angiosperms, photosynthetic bacteria, eukaryotic algae and all, which came afterwards only. But cyanobacteria is a primitive form. So for question 157, because cyanobacteria, which is otherwise called as blue-green algae, because it's a photosynthetic prokaryotic organisms which evolved 3 million years back, the cyanobacteria. They perform organic, that is oxygenic photosynthesis process, and this performs a vital role in the photosynthetic reactions. So option 157, 1 is the correct answer. Question number 158. Which one of the following is incorrect about the characteristics of protobionts, the conservates and microspheres, as envisaged in the abiogenic origin of the life? As I told you, the main thing, the protobionts, when we talk about this question, question number 158. Question 158, the protobionts, many times you get confused, either is the protobionts or conservates. Okay, which is the first organism which started evolved? As far as evolution is concerned, protobionts was the first organisms, the protobionts which evolved, but this seems to be non-reproducing. This was first. Later part one, even in substantially what level, during a course of time, the protobionts changed to conservates. Conservates are the first reproducing organisms. If the question comes very selectively, which is the first reproducing organisms evolved on the planet Earth, it is conservates. But in general question, if it comes like, which is the first, the organism which evolved, irrespective of reproducing or non-reproducing, then it is definitely, it is a protobionts. But Cossarvates is the first reproducing organisms which has evolved in the earth. So you should be very careful and extra cautious when you are attempting for this type of question. So for this question, question number 158, 3 is the correct answer. They were able to reproduce. That's what I mentioned here. Cossarvates can reproduce, but protobionts cannot reproduce. So 3 is the correct answer. And question 159, according to Darwin, the organic evolution is due to intra-specific competition. We have competitions like inter-competition, intra-specific competition, and we have like environmental competitions. The competitions are very different, but how the organisms, the population is going to take, whether I am going to do or I am going to die, whether like I am going to adapt or I am going to fight with the opponent. If you want to fight and you want to just win the race, you win it, or you want to backslide, you backslide, or you want to adapt or go into some other area and form your own new colony or population, that you can do. If you don't want to do anything, then the survival of fittest concept comes here. This is where actually the natural selection comes. We discussed already in the case of industrial melanism, or we discussed in case of like the Darwin's finches, where nature loves the organisms, where the organisms can go in with the adaptation instead of fighting or blaming the nature. This can adapt with the environment, and this can form a new area, new colony or population it can form. So for this question, option 3 is the correct answer. Question 160. The theory of natural selection was given by. This is a very simple question. Natural selection means Darwin. Darwin is the correct answer. 161 is the correct answer. Question 161. Question 161. Biological concept of species mainly based on reproductive isolation. So option 4 is the correct answer. Question 162. Higher frequency of melanin in British moths and DDT resistance in mosquitoes is cited with the examples. It's a natural selection. So anthropogenic evolution, how the mosquitoes started evolving the resistance, and natural selection is again an example. So 1 is the correct answer. 163. Evolution of different species in given geographical area, starting from the point and spreading to other geographical areas, known as adaptive radiation. It means we discussed in the marsupials, like kangaroos, how this started, because it originated in one particular area. Then what did this happen actually? So 163, marsupials like you take in Australia. Then what happens? It started diverging or adapted to the different areas actually. So it started colonizing in different regions, and new organisms have started developing according to its traits. This is called as adaptive radiation. Example you take in case of marsupials. You take an example, marsupials like kangaroos, like these areas, like the platypus, all these are examples which comes under this one. So for question number 164, an evolutionary pattern observed in the common ancestors which enables us to occupy the diverse habitats is called as divergent evolutions. We done already the common ancestors. So this is for question number 164 as well. Question 165. A connecting link which provides evidence for organic evolution is duck-billed platypus between reptiles and mammals. This we already discussed in the connecting link. I gave 5 examples in the live sessions, where out of the 5 examples already 3 questions came from this part. So you can give importance for this type of question. So option 4 is the correct answer. Question 166. An evolutionary pattern characterized by rapid increase in number and birds and kinds of closely related species is a repeated question. 166. Divergent. So again, it's a divergent. See, that's the reason first itself I told you homologous means divergent. If you couldn't recollect HD means homologous divergent. Analogous, AC means analogous convergent. Common ancestors, no common ancestors. Having this in your mind, you can crack any type of questions which come from this particular area. So question 167, which is the correct order of increasing geological time of scale? So hypothetical vertebrate evolution, Precambrian, Paleozoic, Mesozoic, Cenozoic. This comes in between the Jurassic period. So option 4 is the correct answer. The branch of biology that deals with the study of fossils. These questions become paleontology, study of fossils. 4 is the correct answer. Haeckel biogenetic law. This we discussed already. Ontogeny, the repeated question. That is Haeckel's biogenetic law. 169. 169. The same question that we already discussed. 170. Which of the following is the earliest era? Paleozoic era. Paleozoic era, which is the earliest period, like where the demonstration of fossils, which seems to be a big question mark, by means of carbon dating only we found. So option 3 is the correct answer. 171, the theory of random genetic drift. This question already we discussed. Sewall's right effect, where the speciation which occurs in the smaller population. Option 1 is the correct answer. According to availability evidence, life evolved through the process of abiogenesis. Abiogenesis, which was disproved actually. We discussed later part like Louis Pasteur, Lazarus Spallanzani, these Francisco Redi, these all people, they disproved abiogenesis. We discussed already about this one. Question 172, 1 is the correct answer. 173, struggle of existence, which was given by Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin, the natural selection. So this also we discussed before. 4 is the correct answer. 174, origin of species, the book written by Darwin, the natural selection. 174, 3 is the correct answer. 175, which among the following theories was proposed by Weismann? Theory of germplasm. Germplasm, ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm, the division of labor which occurs after the gastrulation process. 4 is the correct answer. 176, the formation of two species from one ancestral group is a divergent evolution. We discussed. Option 4 is the correct answer for question number 176. 178, species inhabiting the same geographical area is known as sympatric species. Be allopatric and sympatric. Option 4 is the correct answer. 179, connecting link between Annelida and mollusca is Neopilinea. It's a 2. We already discussed the same question. So option 2 is the correct answer. The last question, which of the following is a vestigial organ? Vestigial organ is the nictating membrane. So nictating membrane that we discuss, appendix, nictating membrane, pinna, all these are the nictating membrane. It doesn't mean like it's not present in our body. We are not making use of it. It's non-functional. So by this we come to the end of this chapter, that is evolution. In spite of that, if you have any doubt, please don't hesitate to post your comments on the comment box. We will be happy to assisting you. Thank you so much. எனக்கு எங்க திரும்பி ரீடேக் வேட போறீங்க